I can't be as colorful because I can't use my hands. I'm so limited.
You also can't move your head.
Yes, I cannot move my head. It's hard to make facial expressions. So that's probably why I'm more monotone. I apologize for all 2 people out there that are watching this. So we have this thing at Fitness Lying Down, this saying that we like. It's called "Friends Don't Let Friends Ab Crunch." And a lot of people are kind of befuddled by that. They don't know quite why, because we're told in order to get stronger abs, what do we have to do? We have to do ab crunches. Well, the problem with ab crunches is that it's an isolation exercise. And our core does not work in isolation. And so that's why we don't call it ab workouts, we call it core training. At Fitness Lying Down, we recognize that the core is made up of about 35 different muscles, so that's a whole lot. More than what people think that their core is made of, and especially that whole six-pack ab thing that people are trying to achieve. And the other problem with ab crunches is that we're doing them on the floor. And I'm going to tell you right now, your core deserves to be trained where your body normally is, and that's standing, walking, lifting, squatting, pressing, and pulling. So we need to make sure that we can honor the body and the movement patterns and train the core rightly so we can be stronger, not inside the gym. That's what ab crunches are for. Because nobody ever gets done doing ab crunches and thinks, I'm glad I did that. I'm going to be so much stronger outside now. You know what they're usually thinking of? My back is sore, my neck hurts. So we don't want that kind of business, especially not in my gym. I remember back in the day, I thought I was pretty darn strong because I could squat X amount of pounds, I could deadlift X amount of pounds, and I could bench press so much. But if that was the case, how come I kept blowing my back out when I would just go over to pick up my young children? How come it hurt when I would go to bend over and pick up like a pencil off the ground? Because I wasn't giving my core what it needs. I always tell people, my mom, she named me, but she just added one too many syllables. It's just been core cripe. So you don't want that core to hog all the energy and all the strength. You want it to be able to effectively transfer. And so when we're training, what's the one thing that makes us so uniquely human is the fact that we're the only bipeds in the animal kingdom. And that core needs to be fired up, working, so that when you walk, you can walk with that nice gait and that everything moves fluidly and smoothly. And you think about when people get older or when they get injured, and I could definitely appreciate this whole injured mentality, is what happens to their gait, right? They start shuffle walking. They start bending over to look down. They have to see where they're going because they don't trust their body. Their core isn't strong and stable enough to transfer that energy, so they don't want to fall over. And that's a big thing. So how can you step outside of your normal gym activities and start working your core in a better way? Well, number one is take out those silly ab crunches. Come on, do yourself a favor. You should do more exercises standing. You should find different ways to be challenged. Not that you have to necessarily be standing on one leg or standing on some unstable surface, but take some of those exercises down. So if you're doing an overhead press standing, that's great. Have a good time with that. But why don't you take it down and do a half kneeling position where you got one knee on the ground, one foot out in front of you, and do that same press overhead. And now you're going to experience how the core has to work a little bit different, more hard. More hard?
That's what she said.
People just kept coming in. I'm the worst instigator of terrible bad jokes.
Right. So let's say you're doing an overhead press with 2 hands. Now if you want to make that a little bit more challenging, more progressive, why don't you go ahead and grab yourself a kettlebell? Only have one hand now. Now the core has to work even harder to make that happen. It's amazing how we can do this stuff and we don't even think we're working our abs, quote unquote abs. It's not a single isolation exercise. This is integrated. We're teaching the body how to move and to have its being all together. Get yourself more acquainted with your core in a more authentic and practical way. And with that, you're going to have a better experience. I guarantee it. Kathy, you did it!
You're welcome.